You made it really hard for me because when I'm putting slides together, I'm trying to make them visually appealing. But with the vast number of properties that you have bought with JWB, you made it really hard to do. So I know
Sorry about that.
these
Sorry.
numbers,
Yeah.
but it's Michael's fault.
So, Michael, is this what you do? Do you just kind of like go through and talk about each property? Like, how do you show your portfolio?
Pretty much what you're looking at right there. I just kind of start there just to give them an idea of the fact that real estate is not a silver bullet. You can't just go out and boom, make money right out of the gate. It's a long process. And so I show them the history and I'm like, you got to jump in at some point. Just jump in. Jump in today. Get in as soon as possible because if you got a 10-year horizon, it gives you 10 years. And what you're looking at right there is, that's 9 years.
Yep.
Just about.
Yeah,
just
9 years. So it shows you got in 2016. You talked about these first 3 properties that you bought. You bought them in cash. I guess was this like you sold your properties in Maryland and 1031 them down here?
That's correct. Exactly. And one of the properties that I sold was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Bethesda. I bought it for $175,000. And when Ann and I got married in 2005, I sold it in 2007. I sold it for $355,000. Well, I didn't have to pay any capital gains on that because it was my primary residence for 2 of the last 5 years. Even though I rented it for a couple of years, I had still lived in it for 2 of the last 5 years. So I was able to take advantage of not paying any capital gains. So I had the cash sitting on the sidelines ready to go.
So there's huge tax savings opportunities that Michael has just dropped, these nuggets, and it comes with investing in his education and his relationships. Michael, can you explain just a brief explanation of a 1031 exchange for those who might not be aware?
When it comes to a 1031 exchange, I took one of the properties I had in Ocean City, Maryland, and when I sold it, I had depreciation, I had asset pay down, I also had, just regular pay down. So I had some capital gains there as well. But instead, because it was an investment property, I took the capital gain from that property and I rolled it into the JWB properties through what they call a 1031 exchange. You have to use a third party mediator. You cannot touch the money. So I identified the properties I wanted to buy first, or at least work with you guys. And what was nice is you had a nice selection to choose from. So I sold the property and did the 1031 exchange within the time limit and was able to pay cash for those properties. Between the cash that I had from the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the cash I had from the place at the beach with the 1031 exchange.
You probably saved, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes through those opportunities right there, which contributed to your ability to buy however many we bought right off the bat, 3 or 4. If you weren't aware of those strategies and hadn't invested in your education, your relationships, been a part of groups like this to learn this, you would have wound up with, let's say, 2 properties instead of 3 properties, just simply because you were able to save the tax dollars and then put them into an asset, which is such an incredible strategy, especially when you couple it with a buy and hold strategy. It's one of the reasons you're sitting here retired at 58.
Right. And Greg, the reason why I was able to, those properties that I had in Ocean City, I actually paid those off because at the time I was single, I was making really good money. I was living in a place I paid $175,000 for. My rent was next to nothing. And so I was making good money. I was able to pay off those rental properties. But then when Ann looked at the numbers and she said, you own these properties free and clear, we're sitting on like $300,000 worth of equity that's only generating after taxes, after maintenance, after HOA payments, because we had no principal, we had no interest. We're still only making like $10,000 net. So we moved all that to Jacksonville, the same money, and that's how we were able to increase our monthly cash flow. Well, that monthly cash flow, again, gave me the opportunity to build up cash reserves for another down payment.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Did you refinance any properties that you bought with us in cash during the really low interest rates?
I contemplated it, but I did not. And the reason why is because I knew the end game. And I had pretty good interest rates on these properties when I got them. Well, granted, at the time, I want to say it was the high 4s, low 5s is what I'm paying on those now.
Yeah.
But I did not know because I wanted to maintain that cash flow, historical cash flow, because I knew that the job I had at the time potentially could come to an end. I didn't expect to come to an end so soon.
Makes sense. And so those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you bought in cash, you still own them free and clear at this time. Yeah. So that starting with the end in mind, building the plan that Michael, Ann, and I put together many, many years earlier. It was about this outcome. And when we got to a certain number of properties, and we understood what amount of rental income, net rental income, those would kick off, and it met their goal of lifestyle, well, then we don't have to go and refinance all of those properties to pull out cash to make additional investments. We're sort of already there. If I'm getting it correctly, that's probably why your last two purchases were cash purchases as well. So let me ask you this. You're 58, you're retired, and you have some cash that you're sitting there. Why did you decide to put that in cash and rental properties and not in something that's more traditional?
Part of it was that JWB was offering a pretty killer opportunity. If you bought property, you got a maintenance credit. So the maintenance credit kind of helped with that as well. I'm more comfortable with real estate. For me, I like having a couple irons in and being in control a little bit. And that's kind of the path we took.
And it's clearly working.
Well, speaking of clearly working, here is the snapshot, right? So you want to talk them through this, GC?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the scorecard. How has Michael's money actually performed through this beautiful asset class? And as you can imagine, lots of success here for Michael and Ann. This 13% rate of return means that every single year their money is working hard for them at a rate of 13%. And when you invest, like Michael and Ann have invested, and you simply buy and hold, and you're in an asset that's making double digits over and over and over again, that's how you get to your retirement goals, your financial outcome that you have. Total profit is over $1.8 million through his investments here with JWB and Jacksonville Rental Properties. Of the $1.8 million in total profits, about 1.3 is home price appreciation, as everybody can see here. He has about $82,000 in principal pay down. That is by investing in cash flow positive rental properties. That is your renters paying your loans down for you, and tax savings. We've talked a lot about tax savings on the call here. The tax savings that we're talking about here is simply what this portfolio is producing in terms of tax savings, meaning the rental income that Michael and Ann received is offset by the depreciation and the tax savings components that allow him to write that off in that year. When Michael is talking about things like a 1031 exchange or being strategic about selling his primary residence after he has lived in it for 2 of the last 5 years, those are just additional. Those are advanced tax saving strategies on top of this that real estate allows you to do. So if we're talking about Michael's actual tax savings number, because he implemented these other strategies, it's even way higher than that $45,000 number. Michael, what do you think when you see how well you've done?
The reason why I love real estate, that's exactly what it is. And, you got to have a good accountant, you got to have a good financial planner, and I think you got to have a good portfolio manager and a property manager as well as part of your network of people. Everyone helps everyone, and that's the keys. It is the end game. What is your goal? And, when you and I met in 2016, my end goal was to be where I am today. And, we've achieved it. And so I like to share the wealth, and that's why I agreed to come on. And that's why I try to refer as many people as possible, because it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just telling people there is a wheel.
It's the patron Santorios, y'all.
That's why it is.